Across Africa, Islamic State is expanding its presence in some of the continent's most fragile and unstable regions. Since its territorial defeat in the Middle East, the group has shifted much of its operational focus to Africa, exploiting weak governance, security vacuums, and ongoing conflicts to strengthen its position. From the Sahel and Lake Chad Basin to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Mozambique, Islamic State affiliates are increasing their operational reach, adapting their tactics, and exploiting local grievances. What does this expansion mean for regional stability, and how could the threat evolve in the years ahead? To explore this, here's our intelligence analyst, Joshua George.
Africa provides numerous countries with weak governance, ongoing security vacuums with poorly equipped security forces, and limited intelligence and border control capacity, which could be easily exploited by insurgent groups. Africa has become IS's most active operational theatre since its territorial defeat in 2019. According to its propaganda, about 90% of its attacks take place there, and its propaganda has majorly shifted focus to Africa in recent years. So in the first half of 2025 alone, IS's African branches claimed at least 565 attacks across 8 different countries. And while the groups are semi-autonomous, it continues to rely on the command structure in the Middle East, which provides operational support, funding, and strategic guidance. There are 5 separate IS provinces. So firstly, you've got IS Sahel province, which is primarily active in the Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, tri-state border region. It's conducted dozens of attacks through 2025, primarily exploiting the Western force withdrawals and the taking over of Russian assistance through Wagner and subsequently Afrika Korps. It targeted civilians and security forces alike, burning and looting homes while seizing several key corridors, while also portraying itself as an alternative guarantor of security to the civilians in the area. One notable development that the group has resumed is high-profile kidnappings of foreign nationals. This is something that it hadn't done since 2018, but it's since restarted that. It's been outsourcing it to local bandits mostly. One of the most active provinces of Islamic State is Islamic State West Africa province. Its main areas of operation, however, are Nigeria and Cameroon. It has been particularly active, claiming 215 attacks and 734 casualties in Nigeria in the first half of 2025. It is particularly exploiting the porous borders in the region, particularly since Niger's exit from the multinational joint task force has targeted Christian villages, but particularly it's been effective at targeting Nigerian security forces, which have struggled with the ongoing insurgency. To counter ISWAP, they have conducted things called super camps, where they concentrate military forces into camps that are heavily fortified. However, ISWAP has conducted a burning camps campaign, specifically targeting these camps through nighttime raids. There's also a high prevalence of foreign fighters in the group, suggesting increased external funding and support from the Middle East. So the only group that's had significant setbacks in 2025 is Islamic State Somalia, which is widely considered to be a major financial node in the wider IS network, which is perhaps why the US has been so active in supporting Somalia's counter-terrorism operations. It's got the high presence of foreign fighters. It's got an estimated between 700 and 1,500 total fighters. Approximately half of these are foreign, suggesting again a funneling of resources to this province. However, it's suffered major setbacks in 2025 through the Puntland Regional Forces offensive, which has been backed by US logistical aid, training, and air and ground support. And this was matched by a significant decline in attacks. Next, you have Islamic State Central African Province, which is split into 2. Firstly, in the DRC, the group waged a particularly brutal campaign through 2025, targeting civilians, villages, churches, funerals, and hospitals. This has largely been driven by the operational freedom given to them by the ongoing M23 insurgency, which has distracted Congolese forces. Several high casualty massacres have taken place, notably the killing of 70 Christians inside a church in February and another 71 in a funeral in September. The group also attempted an attack in Uganda, which was foiled by Ugandan security forces. Then finally, you have Islamic State Mozambique province, or ISMP, been traditionally confined to the Cabo Delgado region. However, it's since extended its operations south into 2 border provinces in 2025. conducting looting and abductions, as well as displacing approximately 350,000 people in the second half of 2025. This was an increase of 100,000 over the same period a year prior. Ultimately, that's the main five, but they do have small cells elsewhere in other countries, such as Morocco. We've seen comments from US President Donald Trump regarding an ongoing Christian genocide in Nigeria. He's previously threatened airstrikes and troop deployments to deal with the issue. So the thing with Nigeria is it's actually struggled with multiple ongoing insurgencies. So you got two Islamic State provinces. You got ISWAP in the northeast and ISSP in the northwest. You also have Boko Haram in the northeast, as well as lots of ongoing banditry in the northwest. Nigerian security forces are severely overstretched, and it's highly likely that Nigeria requested help from the US. So on Christmas Day, the US conducted strikes on Islamic State Sahel province in Nigeria's northwest. It's quite notable because it kind of diverges from Trump's comments regarding Christian genocide. A lot of the targeting of Christians in Nigeria happens in the northeast from Boko Haram and ISWAP. However, this suggests that it's more to do with US establishing a counter-terrorism presence in Nigeria. US attention has increasingly pivoted towards West Africa, particularly following other Western countries' withdrawal. For example, France's withdrawal from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad, leaving Western presence in the region severely diminished. US presence in Nigeria would provide an operational base potentially near the Sahel to counter the growing IS threats there. The groups are highly likely to continue to expand through 2026. ISSP is likely to continue to expand, particularly in Niger, where JNIM has slightly less of a presence. JNIM is a rival Al-Qaeda affiliated group in the region. ISCAP, particularly the DRC one, they're likely to be driven further west as Ugandan forces increase their operations to push them away from the border. So we may potentially see attacks in the Shopo province, which we haven't really seen yet, where the group can exploit limited state presence and favourable terrain to support its operations. In March 2024, Ugandan security forces were placed on high alert after they received intelligence that ISCAP fighters crossed the border from the DRC. They obviously attempted an attack in 2025 that was unsuccessful. However, it's highly likely that they will try again, so we may see more attacks in Uganda emanating from ISCAP. Islamic State, Mozambique province, likely to entrench itself in new areas south of Cabo Delgado, and ISWAP is poised to maintain its attack tempo, likely with continued external support. It can also present itself as a regional alternative to Boko Haram. Boko Haram are particularly brutal. They target Christians and Muslims alike, whereas ISWAP is more focused on targeting Christians. So many Muslims in the area are at risk of being targeted by Boko Haram, whereas ISWAP presents itself as an alternative force to join or support. Finally, you have Islamic State Somalia, which has been severely weakened through the Hilak offensive, which has now reached its end. So it's likely to be supported by a potential influx of fresh fighters through Somaliland, particularly given ISS's operational importance to the group. This may also result in further high-profile attacks in other major capitals. And finally, we may see the potential for the formation of a new IS province. One potential country for this is Sudan. Obviously, the Sudanese civil war has left it as one of the most conflict-ridden and unstable countries in the world. A July 2023 UN report noted that there's already an IS financing and logistics network in Sudan of between 100 and 200 people. In 2025, IS propaganda has encouraged Muslims from Egypt and Libya to join the IS in Sudan. It then later on reiterated this call, which suggested it may not have been uptaken. An Islamic State Sudan province could have severe wider implications given its strategic location, link the North, East and Central Africa, and with access to the Red Sea, which would provide IS with an invaluable hub for African operations.
For further insight, including regional analysis, assessments of key Islamic State affiliates, and forecasts for how the threat could evolve, you can read the full report on our website at solaceglobal.com. Thank you for listening.